Hi there, I'm Mary Foley, and I have a question for you. Did you get inspired to create something new during the pandemic party, and finally it's time to share it? Then you get my excitement for my brand new shiny podcast, Live Like Your Nail Color. Oh, and I have the perfect first guest, my friend, very fun friend, Kim Eley, whose laughter is contagious. First of all, though, thanks for listening, and let's get this new party started.
Tired of so much chip happening? Discouraged by so much downer news? Weary from chronic crisis? Don't let the chips keep you down. Welcome to the Live Like Your Nail Color podcast, where the tips of your fingers and toes are ready to inspire you to not give up and to keep creating the business, career, and life you want. In each episode, we flip the chip and let our fun nail color with that crazy fun name cheer us on to remember our strengths, embrace the power of choice, see life as an adventure, and know resilience is only a touch-up or change-up away. Get ready for a good time and a good laugh with your host, Mary Foley.
Hey, everyone. I'm Mary Foley, a business coach for women entrepreneurs who has been slugging it out with my clients in this pandemic party. You know, together we have grown and we have created some amazing results. But let's be real. Are you tired of constant change and challenge? It's like that nail color that keeps chipping, particularly on your fingernails. This podcast is dedicated to flip the chip so you can truly live like your nail color, because the power to change your world is at the tips of your fingers or toes. I am being so real about this. I mean, I'm so excited to be able to do this podcast. And you might be thinking, Mary, I'm not really sure what you mean about living like your nail color. Well, you're about to find out, but I want you to realize right now that your nail color is inspiring you to do 4 specific things. The first is to remember your strengths, just like that favorite nail color you love, and you look at it and go, oh my gosh, I love how this looks on me, and I just feel so good. The second thing it's doing is it's inspiring you to leverage the power of choice, because there are a lot of great nail colors out there, and some of you have tried and some of you don't want to, and some of them maybe you should. And it's also inspiring you to boost your resilience. Hey, chip does happen. Sometimes it happens a little, sometimes it happens a lot. How do we bounce back? Your nail colors are showing you the way on that one. And the last thing it is doing is that living like your nail color is the whole thing about embracing that life is an adventure. Sometimes it's an adventure we really love, and sometimes it's really not what we planned, but it's still an adventure. And you know what? When you put on that wild, crazy color, dang on it, you are embracing that life is an adventure. I know, who knew? There was all that tips your fingers or toes. I've asked some friends to share from their experience so you can actually see what it's like to live like your nail color in an everyday way. And, I like to pick friends who are lots of fun, because don't we need to laugh a lot more these days? Yeah, I think so too, which is why I'm all into it. So let's get started. Today's gal pal is Kim Eley. She's the founder and CEO of KWE Publishing, she calls it, but it's spelled KWE. She's a publisher and a book writing coach who specializes in personal development books with practical takeaways. Good, because the impractical ones are no good for us right now. And she does that because these people share their real life stories. And she also loves to do thoughtful children's books. But the common thread of whatever book she publishes is that they help people see what's possible and to shift into what's more enjoyable and to have a fulfilling life. And so I thought, who would be better but to have as my first guest on the first episode of the Live Like Your Nail Color podcast, but Kim Eley. So Kim, welcome to the podcast.
Oh my gosh, Mary, great to be here. Thank you so much.
I am so glad you're here too. I'm going to dive right in, okay? Because I got a bunch of questions for you about how you live like your nail color. And we're going to focus on this whole idea of remembering your strengths to start out. Before the podcast, I asked you to take the quiz I developed. It's called What's Your Nail Color Persona? So I'm curious, what did you determine was your nail color persona? There's 5 of them. And do you think that quiz nailed it about you?
I love that quiz. And yes, my nail color persona is a glitter gal. And I feel that nails me because it talks about glitter gal has a zest for life and that you really love getting out there and just your bold personality. And I think that describes me.
Well, only you know for sure, although I would say from my experience with you, yeah, that kind of quote nails it. The other aspect, though, that's a strength of a glitter gal is she walks into a room, virtual or real, and she sparkles. Like she literally does little lights lights up the room and causes little lights to go off on other people. And my experience with you is that's exactly like you.
Oh, thank you.
So
Thank
if you weren't a glitter gal, there's 5 nail color personas, and that's one of them. And if you came out to one of the other ones, I'd be like, "Are you sure you answered me?" Just saying.
Kim, you need to take this again.
I want to ask you, what is your go-to favorite color?
Oh, definitely pink. I'm a pink girl. And you know what? It cracked me up because when I chose pink, it talks about the darker the pink shade you choose, the chattier you are.
That's right. Hot pink is very chatty. Pale is a little more mellow, but very friendly.
Exactly. And I think it'll be no shock that extrovert that I am, that hot pink all the way.
So with the hot pink chatty, glitter gal that you are, let's talk about a little bit the last 2 years of challenge and change. What we just talked about are some of your strengths that show up in your nail color. How have these strengths helped you in the last 2 years?
Oh gosh, such a great question. Having the challenge and change of COVID and the multiple, I hate to say the P word, but pivots that we've had, it was definitely a challenge to still sparkle and to have that zest. Sometimes, especially when you are an extrovert and you're a sociable person, being kept indoors, having to change to doing things via, online meeting versus in-person meeting can kind of dim your flame, so to speak.
Yeah.
And to keep that zest for life, to keep that sparkle, I had to find different ways to express myself and to continue being sociable, reaching out to people, keeping those connections while realizing that maybe in person wasn't the available to us right at that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can. That makes a total sense, right? So, as someone real extroverted, I'm sure pre-pandemic you went, online's fine every once in a while, but really it's the in-person, because when I go in person, I receive energy, right? So, and I know that early on, in particular, in the shutdown, and then being distanced, you really struggled with that. But what was there something in particular that you did that enabled you to shift how you felt or how you experienced online? Because there's still a ton of online and it looks like it's going to be that way, but you seem very sparkly today. So I got to think you figured out something.
Absolutely. So the first thing I did, which is the reason I went into becoming why I'm a writer and a publisher, I need to process things when things happen. When things change, I generally will either pull out pen and paper to process it, or I will talk with someone. I actually did a series of YouTube videos where I talked to people at the beginning of the pandemic and said, how do you think this is going to impact us? And it was so helpful to talk it through because I realized everyone else was sharing the same fears I was, which may sound like a blinding glimpse of the obvious, right? We're all going through the same experience. But sometimes we go, oh, I'm feeling this. And I do this through social media. I look and I go, everybody else, and I'll use the nail polish comparison. Everybody else has perfect nails and they've not chipped at all. And look at this. Never realizing when chip happens, nobody's putting that picture on social media, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Like, look at that chip. Oi.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a little bit of that, but for the most part, you're right. I mean, I often think I would just love to live up to my Facebook life. That would be great.
Right.
My Instagram life. Yeah. So Good for you. So it's like you wanted interaction. So you created interaction. And simply by doing that, you heard, okay, I'm not alone, but you're dealing with the same things I am. Yeah. So I won't say misery loves company, but misery likes a party, kind of a thing. And so here's another question though for you. Is there an area that you decided to develop more, to get stronger at in the last couple of years because of the pandemic party?
Absolutely. One thing I had already done was to work with my clients online and to meet with them via Zoom. What I decided to do to strengthen the connection was to think of innovative ways to use Zoom. One of them is book launch parties. Who would have thought 100 years ago, aka BC, before COVID, right, that it could be fun to have a happy hour on Zoom? You really can make it happen if you go into it with some imagination, with some engagement, with some pre-thought about, if I went into a Zoom meeting, what would I want it to be like? What would I do differently than your norm in order to make it feel engaging and sparkling and exciting versus, oh, we're on another online meeting. So I decided to try to think of ways to innovate, to be different than your average, gathering, and to ask questions, play games, make it fun, keep people on their toes. That was something that I really wanted to focus on. And I think it's worked. And I think I'm going to keep it even once we're out of all this pandemic stuff.
Oh, yeah. I think you're absolutely right. We figured out that you have a strength. That's what I'm hearing of making events interesting and fun. So what I'm hearing is you said, I got to develop that in some new ways because I have a virtual environment. Right. And because I was thinking as you were saying this, wait a minute. In BC, there were boring meetings. In BC, there were events that you wanted to yawn at. You couldn't wait till this was over, right? And you could do something more interesting. Right. That didn't change. The human experience didn't change in the virtual world. It's just that, learning the skills to do it. But I love the fact there's something that said you gave yourself not only the permission to do it, and you said, what do I want to experience? Right. So I just so love that. I just want to give a clear shout out to every gal who's listening. And you're like, I want to know what my nail color persona is. You can. Anyone can take this quiz. All you have to do is go to mynailcolorpersona.com. Can we make it easier? I mean, I was trying to be creative. I was just so glad that mynailcolorpersona.com was still available. We're also going to now talk about another essential of living like your nail color. This is what our nails and our toes and the color on them are inspiring us to do. And that is to leverage the power of choice. There's a lot of nail colors out there. And, Kim, everyone wants the freedom to choose, but making a choice for your life or in your work can sometimes be intimidating and scary. What are several choices you made in the last 2 years that took some guts?
Absolutely. So the first one was, and I made this choice pre-pandemic, to hire an intern to help me out. Now, that is extremely hard for me because I imagine there's a lot of your listeners out here who are just like me, who are like, I'm the best person for the job. No one can do it as well as I can. And I don't want to share it with anyone.
That's right. That's a big deal, giving up control, right? And thinking, if I want it done right, I know I have to do it, right? Or if it's going to be done at all, or whatever. Those are all control things, right? So exactly. why did you decide to give up some control and hire an intern and get some more help?
I finally got to the point in my business, and I'm glad about this, that I had too much that I could handle by myself. Mm-hmm. And I realized I was really doing a disservice to my clients if I was being, stubborn about it and saying, dadgummit, I'm the only one who can do this. It was really going to let them down and let myself down. And ultimately, I wasn't going to grow at all. So that was the major factor.
Yeah. You know what I'm hearing in this? It's like you switched your focus in this choice from your control and your need to control to what's best for your clients.
Yes.
And so isn't it so much easier when we shift our focus as to, well, who's going to benefit or the why, that it's easier to make a better choice, and which obviously helps you in personally, but it also like, oh, I can do it for my clients. Okay, that's good. Then all of a sudden, like you get, now like the choice isn't so hard to make.
Absolutely. It's tough. If you look at it as from your ego standpoint, like, well, if I let go of this, I'm, somehow less, diminished as a leader. It's like, no, actually you grow as a leader the more you delegate. That was a hard, but I'm so glad I made that mindset shift. It took guts, but it paid off.
Yeah, well, that's flipping the chip right there, right? You would
Absolutely.
all those things were critical and kind of negative, and you flipped it into a real positive, which was not inauthentic. I mean, that's the cool thing. You're not like making stuff up, making chip up, so to speak.
Yeah.
Now, is there another choice you wanted to share that was kind of gutsy?
Absolutely. And this happened just over this past year, in this past fall. I decided to partner with a traditional publishing company. Now, to give everybody some background, I've been doing self-publishing and walking people through the process. And I decided, again, because I thought it would benefit my clients, to partner with a traditional publishing company to offer greater distribution options. And that was a leap of faith because I thought, oh, snap, I've been doing this on my own. And now I'm going to be partnering with someone else.
Okay, so that was several months ago now. How does it feel now?
Amazing. Amazing. I just landed my first client working
Woo!
with with this imprint, and
Yeah.
I just feel like a superstar. I feel like the concierge at a really swanky, fun hotel who can offer you like all these cool options. Like, would you like to rollerblade today or would you rather parachute?
Well, it would be fun. That's
Right.
yeah, right. I love that. I love that. So you expanded options, and this is also about giving up some control. Like, okay, I get a client. You want to work with this partner? I don't. And I'm sure you vetted them. I mean, that's a big part of growing your business and partnering. Is like, all right, is this a good partner, and why? Right. So, but then you still have the first client to go through. Well, that's exciting. Man, you went from hired an intern to boom, I am having a whole new partnership.
Right.
When it comes to choice, let's look at the other side of things. What about some easy choices? Were there some easy ones that you were able to make during the pandemic? So all choices don't have to be hard.
Oh, absolutely. The easiest choice I made and the best one, and this was a personal choice, I have my groceries delivered.
Ooh.
It's a game changer. I can put in my order, have the groceries delivered. Yes, there is a fee. I pay, a fee, and I do tip them. But I realized how much more productive I am when I don't have to stop work, go to the grocery store, spend time there, and it saves time. It saves me stress, and my husband can add his favorite desserts, and I don't have to guess what he likes.
There's no guesswork in which Oreo version you want to pick this time, right? Or ice cream or whatever. Oh my God. It's just so funny when you go, and this is what we do as women. We're like, oh, I know there's a fee. It's a little extra. Like, as if it didn't cost you time and money and energy and the gas to go to the grocery store yourself. I mean, like, as if that's not, or if it is free. It's a fee. There's fees involved. It just it's not right in front of us.
Okay, it's hysterical you say it that way, because that was how I justified it. I thought the amount I'm paying in the fee is about the amount I would pay for the gas driving there. And that's what allowed myself to give myself permission.
Well, at least you thought through that, because, and so we come from this thing of like, and I see this again, I see it in myself. So, I'm not knocking you at all on that one. It's just so funny. I'm like, okay. And then there's the other gal that goes, I was doing that in BC. Come on, kind of a thing. Like, all I did is got better in the processes, since then, because I am worth it. Like, it's just so funny how it does. So it impacts us. So I've got this. Okay, now I got this statement I like to say, and that is, you change your life one nail color at a time. What does that
Love that.
mean to you?
Oh, I love that. You know what it means to me? And this was something huge that has happened over the past couple of years. I've come to grips with quote unquote failure and what that has to do with nail color. Because I know that moment when you're either in a salon or in the store and you're confronted with hundreds of nail colors and you're like, brain aneurysm, I can't decide.
Yes, choice overload.
Right. And the good news is it's just nail color. And the same thing with decisions that we make. If you goof up your nail color and you're like, oh, I bought this, magenta and bleh, it's a hot mess. That's okay. You haven't failed. You can change that nail color and it's not a big deal. The same thing applies to our decisions in life. If you goof up, it's not failure, it's research.
It's research. I love it. And you've come to the research data point that one doesn't work or doesn't go well. Right. Okay. But it's interesting because what you've said is it's like black and white. Failure is like either I crash and burn with a decision and a choice, or it's fantastic. But there's a lot of things that are in between. Right. So is it just incrementally better? Right. That's what I'm hearing.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And if one nail color doesn't work for you or that you have the wrong shade, that doesn't mean, for instance, if I choose bright neon orange, then that doesn't work for me. That doesn't mean a real pretty pale coral won't work. Mm-hmm. So going with that black and white mindset can keep you away from decisions that might be really great if you just tweaked it a little bit.
Yeah. And made me also think, you ever looked at a bottle, or of course, I love these new nail color strips by Color Street because it's a little less overwhelming sometimes and to see a whole wall of them. But the point is you see all these different options, color options. And I'm thinking, oh, neon green. Yeah, that won't look good on me. But then you ever put on a color, you're like, I don't think it'll look good, but then you put it on.
Yes.
And then you're like, oh, this looks kind of cool. So sometimes what's in the bottle or what's a color off our nails isn't necessarily how it's going to look on our nails.
So true. Yes, we have that kind of prejudice, literally meaning you're prejudging it like, that's not going to work. How do you know until you try it?
Yeah, right. But if we do that with your definition of failure, then it's like, it doesn't work out. That's it. Right.
Yeah.
I kind of
absolutely.
Bottle of wine sometimes. I'm like, okay, so this is a $10 experiment. Okay. So if I don't like it, I'll give it away or something like that. I know. So let's go back to your nail color persona, which was glitter gal. All right. How does being a glitter gal impact the choices you make, or does it?
It does. If I'm given a couple of choices, inevitably I will pick the one that my gut goes for, the one that feels fun. I'm like, oh, snap. Because I know even if I have some challenges along the way, I'm going to enjoy it if it's the more fun option.
So what if it doesn't have glitter? Because not all nail color has glitter. Does it have to have glitter?
That is a good question. No, it does not all have to have glitter because I've become open-minded and other nail polishes are okay.
Okay. Well, I was just thinking to myself, obviously when we think glitter gal or we think of glitter, we think of the little sparkles all the time. But really, it's a reflection of you sparkle. So if you are putting on a color, you're like, wow. One of your favorite words is Shazam. So Shazam, look at this purple iridescent one. You might go, well, that is not something that has glitter in it, but I am feeling fun right now. Okay.
That's right. Exactly. Whatever the fun option is.
One of the biggest reasons I've heard why women don't color their fingernails, especially, is because they chip, right? A little chip here, a little chip there, chip, chip, right? And there's just been a lot of chip happening on our nails and in our lives the last several years. What does it mean to you to be resilient even when chip happens?
What it means to be resilient, and it keeps when you said that about chip happening and people don't want to even color their nails because they're worried that chip's going to happen. It makes me sad because it makes me think in our lives, if we are worried that we're going to fail or goof up or maybe look silly or not know all the answers and therefore avoid an opportunity or not get out there and do something that we might love or really want to do. It makes me sad. I feel like people should go out and just like, dadgummit, color your nails, chip will happen, you can fix it. Same thing in your life. Go out there, try new things. You're going to have times when you stumble. You're going to have times when you don't do something perfectly, and that's okay. Life is meant to be lived, and our nails are meant to be painted.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Well, and I love what you're saying about that. It's just, and it's a decision, isn't it? To take a chance is what I'm hearing you say. Now, I know that in the last couple of years, some chips have been small and only need a touch up, so that they got an extra bottle, or, you're somehow putting some extra color on. Other chips are bigger. They need a whole change up. That ain't going to work at all. In the last 2 years, what's a small chip you've had to deal with, and what's a bigger one?
A smaller chip I've had to deal with, I would say, is getting used to new ways of doing business. Like, for instance, all of us, I think we have software or applications that we have to use, and inevitably things will change, right? Apps will be updated so that they fix bugs in them. One of the changes that happened was within the past 2 years was software that I was using for publishing books, and they redid the software. And my initial thought was, oh no, I have to learn this all over again. I know where everything is now. It's like at the grocery store, if they rearrange it, it's like, I knew where all the things were.
Now you don't even go to the grocery store. So
right now, I pay someone else.
Whatever. But I hate that too. It's like, Windows came out with a new version. I'm like, where am I going to look for stuff? I just got used to it. I don't want to have to learn this again. But okay, so what happened? What'd you do?
So I sat down with it. I thought, how can I fast forward my knowledge? I went to my friend YouTube and I watched a couple of videos that showed me, oh, here's the new changes. And I also learned another trick, which is you can play YouTube videos at 1.5 speed. So it goes a lot faster because I'm impatient.
That is great. And see, you didn't even know that unless you had this other problem, right? Or this other chip, right? So you actually got a bonus out of that. Okay, so now was that small or was that big? It sounds big to me, but what?
It was small to me. It was small.
Oh, okay. Oh my gosh. So what was a big chip that happened? Oh my gosh. Here we go. I'm sitting down.
Oh, a big chip that happened was because of COVID. This was even before the supply chain issues that raised their head in 2021. It was fall of 2020. And I didn't realize that it would take 2 weeks longer to order books than it normally would. And I had a book launch that was coming up, and I ordered the books at the normal time, not realizing it would take much, much longer for the books to arrive.
Uh-oh.
And I talk about nails. I almost chewed mine down to the nub. I was terrified.
Oh no. What happened?
Fortunately, because I strive to be proactive. I had ordered the books a couple of weeks before I actually needed them. The nail biter was they came in the night before the launch.
Oh
which,
my gosh.
I'm telling you, I was a wreck. So how I dealt with that is I even bumped out my process further. I order like 2 months ahead of time now.
Wow. All right. So I'm just curious. So did your client even know that?
They did. I had to tell them about it because they were getting nervous.
You don't have to whisper. Right?
You're right.
Right. I mean,
we're on a podcast. That's right.
No, I think they know by now. And yet you did bounce back, and now you of course improved your processes, right? And of course you're like when they were supposed to, and we were all learning about third party impacts on our what what I would say our everyday life, but what we had become accustomed to or used to was the timing of things or the availability of things. And yeah, that's and then of course with a business and there are your clients, you set the expectation and then, oh no, can I even meet it? And did you have because you didn't know for sure if they were going to arrive in time? Just curious, did you come up with a plan B for your clients?
I did. The plan B was going to be if we didn't have the books in time for the book launch, what we were going to do was go ahead and have the launch. We would take everybody's name and information and say, hey, Mary, you want to get a copy of the book? We'll go ahead and mail it to you. We're going to add to that a special autograph and a little special, gift to say thank you so much for being so patient.
Nice. Well, at a virtual book launch, I can't buy the book from you and get it in my hot little hands anyway, right there. I'm going to have to wait for shipping.
Right.
No ways, right? Okay. And I know they may have had a few people around and say, here's the book to buy. Yeah. So, oh my gosh. Well, good. Okay. Well, now you have a plan B in the future as well. Right?
Yes.
I love that. And so you had to get resourceful and creative. And here's the good news is nobody died. I mean, I used to have an administrative assistant and she'd be like, oh my God, oh, this happened. And I'd say, well, okay, so tell me what happened. And so she would, and I say, okay, here's the good news. Nobody died because, I don't want to make light of that because sometimes people do die. It's dramatic. But what I thought was, I'm trying to let her know the processing is if no one has died, it's going to be okay. We'll figure it out. If someone has died, that's the biggest kind of chip you don't want to have happen. So and over time, what happened is she didn't freak out as much. It was an automatic response. And I also didn't criticize her for that because there's so many, so many people who have been in situations where they're almost conditioned, like something, small or big, doesn't matter the size, goes wrong. And right. And because if they've had negative consequence, again and again, why wouldn't you? It's so I was helping hopefully to retrain her on that one. So, then she didn't care about coming into work. I'm just kidding. That wasn't it.
Oh no, it went too far.
No, she went too far. Exactly. I'm just kidding. Okay. But I do have a specific question for you as an author and a publisher, because I know you've written some books of your own. So, and I wanted to get your thoughts on this. I recently read the book called Life is Messy by Matthew Kelly. Just brilliant title, don't you think? I
love that.
Exactly.
I love that.
And he says this, the only way out of writer's block to write, the only way forward in life is to live. Is that true for you and your authors, since you definitely deal with people who have writer's block?
100% yes. In fact, one of the things I share with clients if they have writer's block is set up a timer and just start writing something. It can be something mundane. I guess I have groceries on the brain. Start writing your grocery list. Start writing, Kim asked me to write this and I don't know what to write, blah, 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 blah. The power, and they've done psychological studies on this, actually putting pen to paper or fingers to keyboard and going through the motions and starting to write will actually fire up your brain and will start your thought process going. Now, does that necessarily mean you're going to write the best idea you've ever written? No, but it will at least get your brain moving. And it's kind of like friction, or entropy. A body in motion wants to stay in motion. So as soon as you start writing, you want to continue writing. Your brain's like, hot dog, we're doing this.
I love it. I love that. Well, and of course, this whole book, by the way, Life is Messy, is not about writing, but he is a writer. And so at one point he made that statement, and I thought about you with writer's block, and I've written a couple of books myself, and I thought about that. But I love this way. He says the only way forward in life is to live. And so I was thinking about what you're just saying about setting a timer and just starting to write. So for resilience, it's about bouncing back from something that doesn't go as intended. And if we have to kind of sit sometimes and with our emotions around it. But then when we get at all a sliver of like, I'm ready to move on. I want to. I don't necessarily still feel great, but instead of waiting for the feeling to come back, you go, all right, what's the next step I need to do to respond to this? And maybe what's the first step? Give yourself a timer. Say,
Yeah.
I'm just going to think about it for 10 minutes. I'm just going to make that first phone call. I'm just going to do the first piece.
Yes.
And then, and that is really a trick of, and I don't say a trick in a bad way, a trick in a good way. It's just tricking your mind to get started.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I once heard the expression talking about babies learning to walk. If the baby stopped the first time they couldn't walk, nobody would be walking.
Absolutely. And if I had stopped by the first time thinking about this podcast, I wouldn't have gotten started either. We've had some fun, haven't you, said today? What do you think, Kim?
Yeah, I love this. This is super fun.
Being the extroverted glitter gal who loves pink, man, was I right on that? Okay, to kick this off. Not everybody's necessarily going to be glitter gal pink, but there's room for everybody. Now, we have been talking about how to live like your nail color and the 4 essentials, and those are remembering your strengths, leveraging the power of choice, boosting your resilience, and now we're going to talk about that life. Embrace that life is an adventure. And it's almost like the buildup, of those. If you can remember your strengths and really be proactive about your choices and use them for good and for your good, you can bounce back. Boost your resilience. It's almost like pre-work for embracing that life is an adventure. But I want to ask you, Kim, what comes to mind when you hear embrace that life is an adventure?
One of my favorite movies, it is an oldie, was Auntie Mame. And Auntie Mame was this eccentric, fascinating woman who lived life by her own rules. And she had a great quote in the movie, and it was, "Life is a banquet, and most of those poor suckers are out there starving."
Oh, wow. Yeah. And so what did that mean to you then? Like, I want to go eat the whole buffet. I mean, what clicked in for you?
That there's so many times when we put ourselves in a box, right? We, get with a group of people and we're like, I'm going to use high school as an example. Well, I'm one of the brainiacs, so I'm just going to hang out with the people who are real studious. And I'm not going to hang with the jocks, or I'm not going to hang with the cool people. Why do we box ourselves into these little labels? Why don't we go out there and shake things up within reason? I'm not talking about breaking the law, but
oh my gosh, you mean a brainiac could actually talk to a jock? Is that what you're saying? Like, and be friends?
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, crazy. I know.
But we live life with blinders on when we stop ourselves or limit ourselves from things, because it's like, that's not what I normally do. It can be something really, relatively benign, like, I'm going to try this fruit that I see at the grocery store that I've never tried before, or I'm going to go out of my way to, try this nail color that I'm a little weirded out about. I'm going to try it on my toes first, but doggone it, I'm going to try it.
Well, it is. And a lot of times what you're talking about is comfort, and some adventures we sign up for, others we don't, right? Like the last years, you could call it an adventure. So I want to start there. I don't want to be necessarily a downer, but it's the reality of what we've all been going through. And to flip the chip, I like to always bring that up. So how has the change and the challenge of the last 2 years impacted just how you look at life and maybe your comfort zone?
Absolutely. I look at challenges, including the ones that I don't like. I'm going to put it out there. I don't like accounting. I'm sorry. I've said it. I'm sorry if I've upset anybody.
We have podcast is over. Because that makes 2 of us and we're both off there. Okay.
Oh man.
Mike, for a whole nother reason. Okay, so you don't like accounting, and yet you're a business owner, so you got to get it done.
You got to do it. So I look at challenges and say, okay, am I going to just race up and embrace this challenge and do it anyway? Is there some way I can delegate it to someone, like hire an amazing accountant, which I did, which made a huge difference? is there a way that I can make this more fun? Like, for instance, if I have to make phone calls that I don't like, can I do something fun at the same time? Is it a beautiful summer night? Can I sit outside and make these sucky phone calls while I'm enjoying the great outdoors?
Yeah, combining something that's more enjoyable with something that's less enjoyable. Okay, yeah, which puts me
And it totally works.
okay, and that puts you in charge of the experience. I think that's
Yes.
so much what comes to my mind when you say that is if life's an adventure, it's like when I think of that, I think, and I love biking, right? And I think about I'm going to plan on my next bike ride on a rail trail, which will take me into a place I haven't done before. And I do that, and I think, but I'm the one in charge of that decision, right? And I'm the one in charge of planning, like. And so sometimes when we have stuff happen to us or we have to deal with to go, life is an adventure. I don't think so. This was not the adventure I signed up for. And I'm not here to say that all those adventures are great. It's simply to go, well, how can we flip it?
Right.
How could we adjust it? Right. Like you're saying, I got to do accounting. How can I do it differently? How can I get it?
Exactly.
Okay. So let's get back to those nails. I love this. How can our nails inspire us? To me, picking a polish, I call it picking a polish on purpose. All right. So it's a small act of being in charge and leading the way. And it's a simple experience, obviously, of picking a polish. So I'm curious, what's the wildest, most daring color or design that you've ever put on your nails, and why'd you do it?
Oh, great. 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 I love this. The most daring nail color. It was actually a two-tone color. And you had mentioned before Color Street, which I absolutely love. They're the strips that you put on your nails. And I went, even though I'm a glitter gal, I went way out of my comfort zone. And it was a two-tone, dark blue and turquoise blue. And I did it because I was celebrating. I had achieved a milestone at work. Gosh, I was so excited about the nail color. I forgot what the milestone is. Anyway, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter.
Good.
I was celebrating myself. So I went out of my comfort zone, wore this wild color. And Mary, I was thinking to myself, people are going to think I am a wackadoodle. Even if I was on Zoom only and they would see my nails, I was really kind of a little nervous about being judged. Like, what is she wearing? You know what? I got more compliments on my nails when I picked that wild color than I've ever gotten.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So they know, first of all, they notice, and a lot of them were like, "Ooh, that's cool, huh?"
Yeah. I was like, what else can I do? I'm like, oh, dang.
Let me look at all the two tones that they've got. Oh my gosh. I love that. Now, do you remember the name of that nail color?
Oh gosh, it had a really cool name and I can't remember. No, I can't remember. Doggone it. I'll have to look it up.
Here's one from the things that I always recommend people do. Trying different colors, if nothing else, to get used to being proactive about making change and to see how it feels, right? I mean, it's a nail color, daggone it. No one's going to die here, okay?
Right.
Like it, you can take it off. But if you don't put it on in the first place, then you never really know. And it's like this, it's like a muscle, your courageous muscle that you are doing. But when you try it, also, and we often think of the color or the design or glitter or no glitter, which is great. I mean, that's where my eye goes to. Always look at what is the name of that color. There's so many fun nail color names. And that is like an extra bonus to help you live like your nail color. I was wearing this nail color one time called Soho Over It. And I kept thinking, as I was wearing this color, and I was like, I am Soho over this conversation. I am Soho over work. And I was like, gotta go. And in my mind, I'm like, Soho over it. And it was just, and it reminded me because it was on literally the tips of my fingers, right? So, which can be in front of me and visible a lot of times. And it was a color I wouldn't have normally done. It was almost black with all of these multicolored glitters, like brighter colors. But I was like, I love this name. I am Soho putting this on, right? So I just had so much fun with the name, and I kept talking about it to other when it was like funny to them as well. But anyway, so that's called pick and polish on purpose. Do two things.
Love that.
Try a new color and then make sure it has a fun name. And if it does not have a fun name, change it. It's just a sticker or it's just something that's written on the package, right?
I love that.
There's a color that is a very pretty red. You know, I love red. It's called Beijing Beauty. But honestly, Beijing Beauty kind of really did nothing for me in terms of excitement. And so I decided to call it Bodacious Beauty. And I was like, oh yeah. And so right? So it's just and sometimes it takes a little bit to like, what would I call it? Get your friends involved.
Yeah.
Right? So
I love that.
Thank you for playing along. Is there a quick example of how you can add adventure to your life every day?
Yes. Choose an option every day that's something you haven't done before. Maybe it's a different way of driving home from work. Maybe it's, a different nail color. Maybe it's try eating with your left hand instead of your right hand or vice versa, whatever your non-dominant hand is. Try it. See what happens.
If you're not driving into work every day, try a new Zoom background.
There we go. On.
Oh my God, this has been so much fun, Kim. I thank you so much for being my first guest on the Live Like Your Nail Color podcast. Kim, for those who would like to get in touch with you, what is the best way they can contact you?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. You can reach me at kwepub.com. Reach me on my website. I'd love to hear from you.
Okay, that's great. And I know her. I mean, obviously I know her. She's been on. All right. Kim will respond. That's what she's really, really good at. And I want to also add there that as we wrap up the first episode of Live Like Your Nail Color podcast, you might again be going, okay, now I'm really motivated. I got to figure out my nail color persona. The only way you're going to really know is you go to livelikeyournailcolor.com and you can take the quiz there. Once you spend just a little bit of time flipping the chip on your nails and in your life, it's amazing what can happen. So thanks again for listening, and we'll be with you next time on the Live Like Your Nail Color podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Live Like Your Nail Color podcast. Ready to live and laugh more? Know a friend who could use some of that too? Then subscribe at livelikeyournailcolor.com or your favorite podcast app and share this episode right now with the person who popped into your mind. Together, let's flip the chip to be stronger, smarter, and happier.